It's time for another house visit from the doctor.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Happy Monday. Hopefully your work week starts off great. Let's get you going right here on Locked On Spurs. All about your silver and black. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Yeah, as you just heard, yes, Dr. Ryan McCorkle is back. We're going to go over the latest Spurs injury report ahead of tonight's Cavs game. So just to clear any confusion up, it's not the IR report before the Cavs game. This is the most recent, before the Miami game. So we're going to go off of that. Also, it seems Spurs fans are getting a little impatient regarding the status of Blake Wesley and his injury. Dr. Ryan's going to tell you why fans need to have a lot of patience. And then sneakers. Yeah. Dr. Ryan's going to brag about his sneaker collection. Let's go and bring him on. He is Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Austin ER Doc. He is an ER Doc at St. David's Medical Center and the Austin Emergency Center. And he is with the Backstage Medical and Concierge Medicine Practice. Dr. Ryan, welcome back to Locked On Spurs. And it looks like fans are getting antsy about Blake Wesley coming back, huh?
Yeah, a little impatient, which is surprising given the severity of that injury.
I know. So, I am actually looking forward to hearing about your sneaker collection. It must be insane.
It gets pretty out of control, man. It's like every other vice that people have. It kind of ramps up. Other sneakerheads will relate. Yeah, it's gotten kind of out of control.
All right, we'll get into all that in just a few minutes. So let's go to look at the injury report that was handed out before the Miami game. And there's some stuff to sift through. So obviously everybody listening in, keep that in mind as you listen to what the doctor is talking about. It could change ahead of tonight's game versus the Cavs. So just keep that in mind. Let's start off with a lot of, foot sprains. You have Keita Bates-Diop with the left mid foot sprain. You have another sprain with Blake Wesley. We'll talk about him in just a minute. Vassell was questionable with left knee soreness. He ended up playing against Miami. But let's start off with kind of the heavy hitter right now, and that is Jakob Poeltl, still out as of this recording with a right knee bone bruise. Doctor, he's been out for quite some time. Are you a little surprised, or is this par for the course?
I guess I'm a little surprised with the diagnosis of a bone bruise. Being out for an extended amount of time, but I think we've been fooled before with Zach Collins apparently having what sounded pretty innocuous injury report, and then turned out to be that fibular fracture. Yeah. So this bone bruise may get more information at some point that there may have been some ligament damage involved. Probably pretty minor, we'd have heard by now. But they can keep you out for quite a while, like we've seen with Blake Wesley.
Yeah, you're definitely seeing the impact on the court without Poeltl. He's a paint protector, rim protector. He can set good screens, free up guys for open shots. Of course, he's practically a walking double-double with rebounds and points. The Spurs definitely need him, and it kind of correlates. During that long losing streak they had, Jakob could have helped. In those situations, especially in those close game situations. But hopefully he is back in time for tonight's game versus the Cavs. Another interesting person that's still on the injury list is Jeremy Sohan. Right quad contusion. Again, a little out longer than many expected. But I got to ask you again, is this par for a course? Is this about right for Sohan and his injury?
Quad contusions, we've talked about this several times, about when you take that knee into a muscle of a bell, or the belly of a muscle. It can really linger, especially in something like a quad that bears so much weight and has a lot to do with your ability to cut and post up and the things that Jeremy does, and especially your explosiveness off the floor. It can be a prolonged healing process if that muscle is a deep muscle bruise there in the quad. So I can understand that. And I think you kind of covered too with Jakob's injury that they would have done better if he'd be able to be on the floor. And maybe that factors into the decision making. We just give people a little extra time to heal because we're not feeling too much pressure to pile up the wins.
Right. Again, we're going to talk about Blake Wesley in just a few minutes, but Devin Vassell, he was a 50-50 shot ahead of that game versus Miami. He ended up playing with a left knee soreness. That's what made him questionable. It looked like he was okay. Didn't put up the numbers as Vassell usually does, but I think that'll just come in time considering he had been away from the court for a couple of days.
I'm sure there's a negotiation that goes on there that if we're going to let you play, we want you to maybe take it a little bit easier than right. Normal. Don't go quite full on. Again, because we're not trying to pile up those wins, but also because you don't want him to hurt himself further. So right. I think that's a reasonable approach. You really want to be on the floor. We don't want to discourage that mentality, but you got to agree that you may not push it all to 100% just quite yet.
Yeah, they probably negotiate minutes. They probably negotiate when he gets in, when he gets out. But as long as he's out there, and that's a good sign towards his recovery and coming back to the court 100%. He's really, been kind of in and out to start the season. Having long stretches, he's out. So hopefully he'll stay longer on the court than usual. Once again, we're with Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at AustinERDoc. Make sure to do that right now. Not on the injured list, but I got to ask you, in that last game versus Miami, not Miami. I'm sorry. Excuse me. The last game versus Houston, Alperen Sengun just devastated Zach Collins with a dunk. I'm just talking, just crushed them. Even as Spurs fans, they had to agree that, okay, that was nasty. It didn't count. It was waived off. Offensive foul. But the way Zach Collins landed was very concerning. I think he even banged his head. I was a little surprised they didn't pull him out and immediately do concussion protocols. Is that something that they got to make a decision right then and there? Or how did you see that? Because he did land awkwardly and his head did hit the court. Well,
I'm sure there's several stages of that. Of course, initially, is he coherent? Did he have any kind of loss of consciousness? Any amnesia to the event? That kind of thing. And I'm sure they reassess that again at the next break, the next commercial break, the next timeout. Halftime for sure, and then after the game. And if at any point, there's any kind of question, they're going to enter the concussion protocol. With CTE being in the forefront of everybody's mind with the NFL, also with the NBA, the threshold has become a whole lot lower, and for good reason, to put people into that concussion protocol. So if he'd had any signs, he'd have gone into it, because right now, in all sports, we're having a real low bar for doing that because of the long-term implications for these players' health and mental health.
I mean, anything probably got bruised was his ego. I'm pretty sure that probably just took a hit, because that's
exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, be out in the report next game with bruised ego.
Bruised ego, yeah, because that was just a nasty dunk. Even I was watching the game like, ouch. I was like, wow. But but Zach Collins definitely took a tumble. I mean, good on Collins for being brave to attempt a block, and knowing the ramifications if you miss it, and we saw it. But also good for the Spurs. That dunk didn't count. It was an offensive foul. Hey, when we get back, we're going to dive deeper into the Blake Wesley injury. And Dr. Rice can explain to Spurs fans why they need to just hit the brakes a little bit and let the guy come back when he's ready. Yeah, Spurs fans are anxious to see him back on the court. But before that, I want to talk to you about Rocket Money. Look, are you tired of wasting money on subscriptions? 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. Maybe it's somebody else, maybe it's an unused Prime account, a Hulu account, it never gets streamed. Look, there's probably a reason why you want to stop wasting that money on subscriptions you're not using. Good thing for you is there is a great app that I use that helps me track all of my expenses. And because of it, I no longer waste money on subscriptions I don't even use. You might have heard of it. It's called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Now, this app, it shows you all your subscriptions in one place and it cancels the ones that you don't want or you're not even using, you're not even paying for. They can find those subscriptions for you and let you know, hey, guess what? You're not using these. Let's get rid of it. You may even find out that you've been double charged for a subscription. Rocket Money takes care of all that for you. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money will take care of the rest. Cancel unnecessary subscriptions with Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Seriously, it can save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. And we are back with Dr. Ryan McCorkle. He is on Twitter at AustinERDoc, and he is an ER doc at St. David's Medical Center and the Austin Emergency Center. He's also with the Backstage Medical and Concierge Medicine Practice. He'll talk to you about that shortly. Dr. Spurs fans are getting a little impatient. And between your show here, the last time you're on and now, we had a Spurs fan reach out to me and kind of showing his impatience, kind of like, hey, what's going on with Wesley? Why is he out so long? This is unusual. And I didn't have an answer for it, so I referred him to you. You took care of it. But I think Spurs fans collectively are starting to get a little antsy and wondering why Blake Wesley's taking a little longer than they would like. Do you want to reiterate why it's necessary for the Spurs to take their time with Wesley and his specific injury?
Jeff, are we saying that the sports fans and specifically Spurs fans have unrealistic expectations? I'm shocked.
Shocked. Brace yourself, everybody. Yeah, pretend to be shocked. Yeah. Doctor, a left MCL sprain, that's what Wesley's been dealing with. But Spurs fans want to see this guy get back on the court. Why should they pump the brakes a bit?
Because this is a grade 3, we call it grade 3 sprain, but what that means is that it's a tear. And at a grade 3 tear, you can approach this one of two ways. Either the way the Spurs and Blake are approaching it and do rehab, strengthen the muscles around it, take a solid 2 months to recover and come back this season, or if these Spurs fans with unrealistic expectations would prefer, he can go have surgery and he's out for a solid 9 months. The rest of the season is done. So I know there may be some frustration about how long it's taking him to get back on the court, but that is the difference in him being back on the court this year at all or being gone for the season. So
but
I would think that the Spurs fans would be happy that this means that although it's going to take 2 months to get him back, that it means he'll be back this season and not out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, look, and I get it. Spurs fans want to see the new guy. They want to see the rookie. They were impressed with him during the summer league. They were impressed with him during that stretch of games he had right before the injury, playing really well, very aggressive, young, and that youth that he's bringing to the team. I get that. But you're right. The type of injury that he suffered takes time for him to be in the men. And Doctor, nobody should be even so surprised the Spurs are taking their sweet time with him. This is the par for the course for them. They always do this with players' injury, don't they, Doctor?
They do. I mean, especially, we've been burned with Kawhi in the past. They're going to be extremely careful because they want to protect their reputation around the league, a well-earned reputation for how well they take care of their players when they're injured. They're looking out for their long-term well-being. But because of that, the way that the Kawhi situation played out, people look with more scrutiny at how the Spurs approach injuries. And are they pushing people to get back out on the floor sooner than they should? So they absolutely don't do that. And even may err on the side of caution and take a little bit longer because they don't want to have that reputation after that high profile situation with Kawhi. So I wouldn't have been shocked if they'd have just said, you know what, let's go ahead and do arthroscopic surgery on this, clean up the tear, clean out the knee, and just have him sit for the rest of the year because he does have so much promise. This season is, it's about developing that chemistry, but it's not like they, are desperate to have their best players on the floor to try to pile up wins. Because, obviously because of the draft position. But So I wouldn't have been shocked if they said, we're just going to do surgery and be done for the year. I think he wants to be on the court, and there is something to be said for building that team chemistry among all these young players if this is going to be the core going forward. So I don't think he wants to lose the entire season. But if in 2 or 3 weeks it's not healing as well as they had hoped, I wouldn't be completely shocked if they just said, we're going to do this arthroscopic surgery, fix it definitively, and just the season's done. We'll see him again next year. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's when we see NBA teams just shut down their rookies. Chet Holmgren, he's the good example right now. He's done for his season. He's done. The Thunder decided to take a very cautious approach, surgery, and they'll see him next season. So the Spurs feel that an extended timeout for Wesley is better than completely out because this kid has promise. And during this time that Wesley's been away, Dr. Devin Vassell, after practice recently said that Wesley is eager to get back on the court. Obviously, that the time is closing in. It looks like it's going to be sooner than later. Interestingly enough, though, Vassell said that Wesley added more pounds to his frame, not in a bad way, in a good way. He added more muscle. So what are your thoughts about that? Is that just the normal 19-year-old just filling out his frame? How do you think that'll impact the injury now that he's carrying more weight?
That's tough. So obviously 19-year-olds, this is the time where they, develop an adult male body. And so they are going to fill out a whole lot more. That's natural. That's good. But I think in this situation, it's a little bit more complex. Obviously, foot and knee problems are better when you carry less weight because that joint and those feet are not taking as much of a beating. However, the reason why people end up a lot of times during this rehab process carrying more weight is it's pretty difficult to do any type of cardio if you can't bear weight on your knee or do any kind of running, cutting, that kind of thing. We're going to do a lot of pool work, a lot of things where he doesn't have to actually bear weight on that. But you are going to put on, even if you're putting on good muscle, it's not that he's getting, out of shape or overweight. That's not what we're saying. But the thing you can do is get in the weight room and lift, especially your upper body and that kind of thing. So you may be putting on more muscle just because he wants to work out, he wants to exercise, and he can't do the things that he would normally do with a good knee that involve cutting, running, jumping.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just natural for him. He's going to fill out his body. He's still a kid, but at the same time, in today's NBA, unlike in years past, remember back in the 90s, early 2000s, it was Karl Malone, big, strong, burly guys, Shaq, big, massive behemoths. Guys are looking to, be strong. And nowadays, Doctor, in today's era of the NBA, players are looking to lose weight, be slimmer. Tim Duncan took that approach. Boogie Cousins took that approach in Sacramento. Even Nikola, the Joker out in Denver, Jokic, he's trying to slim down. So that seems to be the trend nowadays, Doctor. But I'm assuming that Wesley won't be adding no Karl Malone size frame to his body, Doctor.
No, absolutely not. And once he's back out there playing, it's almost a challenge to keep the weight on. Then take it off if you're really going to go through an 82 game season. But you're right. The trend has been slimmer players have longer careers with less injury. Karl Malone obviously was a complete outlier because he was rarely injured, played an extremely long amount of time. But I don't think you create your strategies for how you want your players to be built, slim versus more muscular based on one genetic outlier of Karl Malone. I think when you look at a population study, slimmer players do better, have less injuries, and play for a longer period of time. And that's what people are looking for. Give themselves the best chance to have a long career.
Yeah, I'll share a personal story with that. This was a few years ago, and I remember I was leaving back way before the pandemic, and I was leaving my office, and I was cutting across the street, and my leg just gave out. It just gave out. And I dropped like a sack of potatoes. And somebody was next to me. It was a lady. And she saw me just drop. Like I was kneeling, like I was taking a knee. That's what it looked like in football. Like I was taking a knee. And she goes, "Are you okay?" I went, yeah, I'm fine. I go, "That was freaky." I go, "That was weird." And I looked around. There was no major potholes or I tripped on anything, nothing. But then I started feeling this immense pain. And it only will happen in certain times of use. So, for example, I'm normally walking, it wouldn't happen. I did a squat, it wouldn't happen. But if I had to tippy toe and grab something from a top shelf, this excruciating pain will start. So I go to the doctor. And he's like, "What's happening?" I tell him what happened. And he goes, "Okay, well, do a jumping jack for me." And I do a jumping jack for him. "No problem, Dr. Ryan." He goes, "Do a squat for me." I go, "No problem. Do a squat." He goes, "Run in place. No pain." And he goes, "Well, when do you feel the pain?" I go, "Well, I'm reaching for something." And he goes, "Okay, well, touch the top of my shelf." And then boom, it hit. And he goes, "Huh." So he sits me on the edge of the table there. And he grabs my leg and everything. He goes, "Now I want you to kick me as hard as you can." And he goes, "Jeff, kick me in the head right now." So I go, "Okay." So I kick, and I hear pop. I go, "What was that?" He goes, "Your kneecap was dislocated." He goes, "It fell off the track." Yeah, he goes, "It fell off the track." So I guess the point of my story is here at the end of the diagnosis, and he fixed it for me. Was I bruised up and swelled up a little bit afterwards? Yeah, of course I was. But he goes, "I would recommend right now you lose weight." That's what he told me. He goes, "You got to lose some weight." He goes, "Your knees are carrying too much. And that's why you probably had a freak accident, because you were just walking and your knees were just holding you up too much, and boom, it gave out." So I feel some of these heavier players, or just people in general, and I guess that's a lesson for everybody, not just NBA players, doctor, is we got to be conscious about our weight and how much the body stresses to hold it up, huh?
Oh man, there's just carrying excess weight. Not only is it bad for your cardiovascular health, it's really bad for your joints, especially your knees, your ankles, and big thing is your low back. And again, speaking from experience, like you're saying, I was beginning of the pandemic, got up to 258 pounds. I'm 6'5", and it was too heavy, and I was having back problems trying to play basketball, and then changed to a plant-based diet. Did some intermittent fasting, dropped 40 pounds, and at 215, 217, just back problems, knee problems, all better. Cardiovascular fitness is better. It's just one of the best lifestyle things that you can do for yourself.
Nice.
To live longer, live better, and have less pain. Just to carry less weight on your frame. And as far as the NBA goes, we saw that with Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan extended his career at least 5 years by slimming his frame down.
Yeah. I feel like we should have that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Kobe did those things where the 1 year he decided to put muscle on, packed on like 20, 25 pounds.
I remember that. Yeah.
Huge. And then realized after a year or so that was not good for his knees, for his back, for everything else. Ended up rupturing his Achilles.
Right.
But when he slimmed back down, he did better as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like we should have that graphic, the more you know, back in the day. Remember, the more you know, a rainbow star will come out. But yeah, so there you go, Spurs fans. Chill out with Blake Wesley. He'll be back on time. But keep an eye on the added muscle frame. You got to wonder if he'll continue to add more muscle, or he's just okay with just adding what Vassell said, about 4 pounds of muscle. So we'll see what happens. When we get back, we're going to dive into sneakers. Yes, Dr. Ryan wants to share his collection with you guys, tell you what sneakers he has in his collection. And I'm probably going to be very, very jealous once he starts going down that list. Once again, we're right here with Dr. Ryan McCorkle. Follow him on Twitter at AustinER.Doc. But before we start talking about sneakers, I want to talk to you about LinkedIn Jobs. Look, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you got to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can add your job to LinkedIn Jobs, and you can even add a purple hiring frame, like a hashtag hiring frame, to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easier to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience, so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Here's what you got to do. Make sure that you understand that LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And we are back with Dr. Ryan McCorkle right here on Locked On Spurs. Follow him on Twitter at AustinERDoc. And he's also an ER doc at the St. David's Medical Center and Austin Emergency Center, as well as the Backstage Medical and Concierge Medicine practice. So, Doc, what do you think about my story there? My knee just gave out.
It was a great story. That it was something that was so easily fixed, didn't require surgery. And I wanted to say something about that. Working in healthcare, obviously through the pandemic and you know, in our modern healthcare environment is very challenging, difficult. A lot of people burn out. It's a tough career path. But the two things that are most rewarding are the patellar dislocation, like you had, and the nursemaid's elbow and the little kid, because they are what make you feel like a healer and a doctor. Because people come in with patellar dislocations, they're in excruciating pain. Their knee doesn't look right. You take that knee and you flex it. And as soon as you flex the knee, that patella pops back into the track. Yeah. The pain is gone. They can walk immediately. And you look like, I feel like the healer I always wanted to be.
Well, yeah, I remember that day when I went to the office and after he made me do those little exercises, him to assess what's going on with me. He put his hand, if I remember correctly, he had one arm or one hand like on the back of my heel. And he had like one hand on like near my knee area, like somewhere in the knee. And he goes, just kick me. He goes, you kick me with all you got. And I went, okay. Remember, I'm not feeling pain at that moment. And I go for it. And then he did some weird wiggle thing. And all I hear was like somebody snapped their finger. Like, that's what it felt like. I went, what was that? I remember my reaction. Like, what was that? And he started laughing. He goes, your kneecap fell off the track. I go, oh my God. Yeah, I was a little tender words afterwards. I was real tender. I remember that. That wasn't fun, but hey, as long as it worked. Did you know what it was already when I started telling you everything was going on with me?
When you were describing it, that's what I thought. But it's to go that long with it out. That's a lot of people end up coming in by ambulance. That's your parlor trick, is they come in an ambulance screaming, grabbing their knee, and you see that patella is off track, and you just grab it and flex it and pops back in. They jump up off the ambulance stretcher, and you're like, you feel like you've done a magic trick.
Yeah. No, that was a bizarre thing. That's the only thing that the doctor was just laughing at. He goes, you didn't feel any pain when you were walking? I go, no. Is that only if I did certain activities like tippy toe or maybe pivot to reach or something like that. Any type of pivoting, tippy toe reaching, I would feel like that kneecap would stretch out or sort of that knee area just like get pain. But he had an x-ray and he showed me and he was all like, see, he goes, it just came out. He goes, no big deal, because it happens. But then that's when I got the lecture about you're carrying a bit too much weight, buddy. So, but anyway.
What a nice opportunity for you to change your lifestyle and feel better for a lot of other reasons.
That's the thing, though. When it happened, doctor, it freaked me out. Like, because I didn't trip. I didn't hit a pothole. I wasn't sprinting. I was just normal, waiting for the light to say, okay, go ahead and walk now. And then boom, just dropped on my knee. It was a freaky thing. But hey, yeah, let's just say I upped my cardio since that day. Stop saying, okay,
so much better than be a patella that inspired you to do that instead of getting a stent in your heart.
Yeah,
having to be your wake-up call.
I know. But hey, let's dive into the sneakers stuff now. Usually Dr. Ryan comes in and tells us about all the medical side of the NBA, especially yours, silver and black, everybody. But we're having some fun with him today. He has an extensive sneaker collection. So right off the bat, Doctor, I got to ask you, what is your prize sneaker pair? What is the one that you want that nobody will touch? They're under a lock and key. What are those?
Those are going to be the Dior Air Jordan 1.
Wow. Nice.
Those definitely are. So the only reason that I have those too, let's not let our audience think that, doctors make more money than they do. When I do the backstage medical thing for a lot of the artists, there's a lot of hip hop artists, even rock and roll country artists that I take care of. They're also really into sneakers. So they would see my sneakers and they'd be like, "Oh, I have this deal with Nike, and I get whatever I want. Instead of getting paid, an exorbitant amount for what I'm doing, I would just be like, I would love this pair of sneakers that I could never get on my own." And they're like, "Yeah, I get them for free, no problem." So that's where I got most of my high-end sneakers that I would never buy or spend that kind of money on my own. Rather spend it on my kids or something. But they will send me these sneakers, and I just have loved sneakers since I was, in junior high, like most ex-athletes my age and or just guys my age. I think I guess the meme is that we were 12 and you're mowing lawns to try to afford your first pair of Air Jordans.
Yeah.
And now you're an adult and you have a job, and you know what? I'm going to buy everything that I could buy when I was 12 and 13 and really wanted them.
Yeah. How large is your collection? Like, how many sneakers deep do you go?
Oh man, I think I'm up to 40 pair or so.
Oof,
and
get you.
What I've kind of moved to recently is creating my own customs, like mixing up the paint and making my own sneakers that are usually Jordan 1.
Hold on. Are you saying you're a custom sneaker guy? Like you create your own sneakers?
Yeah, I'll have to share the pictures. So
I did not know that about you, Doctor. Wow. Do you have an Instagram where people can look at your work?
I've shared them on my Instagram. You're very good about sharing my Twitter. My Instagram is Austin EM Doc. If people want to see it on there, and I have shared videos of creating my custom bread toe ones and my custom. I'm most proud of my UT Longhorn custom ones that I made, because I do medical direction for the UT football stadium, the OK Royal, and I wanted to wear some Jordan 1s that were Longhorn colors, and they didn't make those. So I was like, I'll make my own. Did the research with the Angelus paint, mixing orange with just a drop of blue, gives you that perfect burnt orange Longhorn color. And I made these shoes, and I wore them for the first time to the Alabama game. And Kevin Durant and Miles Turner are both standing on the sidelines, and I come walking down on the sidelines, and first Miles Turner looks at my shoes, and he's got on one very similar with some brown on the back. And he's like, "These are 1 of 1. My guy at Nike made these for me. Where did you get those?" And I was like, "I made them, myself." And he's like, "Come here, we got to get a picture." So we took a picture with our custom Longhorn 1s. And then KD was down a little bit. He was wearing the Travis Scott low top reverse mochas, which are I got a pair after that. But I love those shoes, and I was looking at those, and he saw my Longhorn 1s, and we're like, "All right, let's get a picture with those Longhorn 1s too." So Kevin and Miles were really nice about it.
Can you repeat your Instagram one more time, please?
Austin EM Doc.
EM Doc.
ER Doc was taken, so I had to go with EM for emergency medicine.
All right. So make sure to go to Instagram, Austin EM Doc, to check out Dr. Ryan's custom kicks. Now, what others prized possession sneakers do you own?
Let's see. I'm standing in my sneaker room now, I got the Dior highs and the Dior lows, the Travis Scott fragments, the Travis Scott reverse mochas, the Travis Scott original mochas, and the Travis Scott highs that are brown, the UNC off-white Virgil Abloh off-white ones. Let's see. And I guess if you go, I like the Amamanieri 3s and 4s. Those are 2 new additions that I have. And then a lot of the old ones, the bread toe ones, the UNC ones, the mochas, the pine greens that I wear for the Austin FC games, and then some shattered backboards, neutral grays.
Nice.
But I think my very first pair that I wanted when I was 12 were the original Jordan 4 cement. They're white with a cement color. I really wanted those. Of course, my mom was like, no way, we're spending $125 on sneakers. So I mowed lawns for 6 months to save up to get that first pair of cement 4s. So that's still one of my favorites that I have now.
If you feel comfortable sharing, go ahead. If not, we'll just move on. But price wise, which are your most expensive ones? Like, which one would you resell for, but you would want a little profit for if you would want to part with them?
Oh, the Dior highs are by far the most expensive. They're probably $11,000.
Wow.
I never spent more than $300 for a pair of sneakers. These were all gifted to me by artists that I took care of. And I thought they were, the first time it happened, I was taking care of a hip hop artist, and I was wearing the cement 4s, and we started talking about sneakers, and he was wearing the Dior's. And I was like, those are incredible. I could never afford those, but those are incredible. And he's like, what size are you? I said 14. He's like, good to know. And then about 6 weeks later, there's a box on my doorstep. And I thought that, I never thought that would ever happen. And then from there, it just kind of took off when I would take care of different artists that you kind of heard that I was a sneaker guy, and I'd be wearing my sneakers, and they'd be like, I'll send you a little something. And the box will show up on my doorstep in 6 weeks, and it's wild. Never could have thought that I would be that lucky.
Now, are some of your custom sneakers, are they for sale or they're just for you?
Oh, just for me. I've never made any for sale. Not that I wouldn't, but I just do it for myself. Just kind of got into it in the last year or two.
Yeah, there's a lot of custom sneaker artists in San Antonio. The big one is Dankflis or Jake Dankfels. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He does a lot of work with the Spurs, makes a lot of custom kicks for them. And there's just a good amount of custom sneaker artists in San Antonio. Oh, yeah. There's a Demas Martinez. He does a very bright approach to it. He's been, I think there was a hospital in San Antonio when he did work for them to raise awareness about autism, because I think one of his sons has autism, and he created custom sneakers of San Antonio and have Spurs and everything, for the benefits of that. So maybe Dr. Ryan would do something like that soon.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be great to transition to that career. Chef Hui Lei is my favorite customizer. He did those. He actually made a pair of Longhorn ones for PJ Tucker and kind of launched his career. But boy, those custom sneakers are pricey.
Oh yeah, they are. Did you ever see the ones that Manu Ginobili got for his Hall of Fame induction, again by Jake Dankfels? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Yeah, those are very nice. Maybe you'll get a player to ask you to make their own custom sneakers for you, courtesy of.
I will be happy to transition to that career. That would be a lot more stress.
I can imagine. Just one more thing about sneakers, though. Have you seen Keldon Johnson? He's now he has a signature shoe now with a Chinese company, a Chinese sneaker guy. I'm gonna get that information for you right now, but he's diving into sneaker brands outside of the U.S. But we see that in the NBA. And remember, Tony Parker was with Peak. Another
Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade did a signed with a Chinese company as well. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So, do you have any Spurs themed sneakers?
Well, the neutral grays, both the highs and the lows, and then the cement 4s that I was talking about, that are some of my favorite. Those are Spurs colorways, and also I like the 11s that have the patent leather around the bottom. So I have the cap and gown 11s, and then the original white and black 11s. So those are good Spurs colors to wear with your Spurs gear.
If you want to see Dr. Ryan's sneakers, go on Instagram, Austin EMM Doc, and make sure to look and bug him. Maybe he'll make you a custom pair if the price is right and he has time. Well, we got to get him to do it. We got to get him to do a Locked On Spurs theme one. It's probably going to be just like a dad New Balance looking ones. Like, here you go. Wear these.
The Nike Monarchs, the dad.
Yeah. The dad shoe. Yeah. Hey, we're done talking. We want to hear
podcast on that.
That'd be hilarious. Matt Bonner would probably love those. He would love. Did you ever see that joke he did when he released Christmas edition shoes? Did you ever see that joke he did?
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, this was years ago, back when he was still playing. So everybody was releasing Christmas themed custom sneakers, like from Tony Parker to LeBron James, and he and Matt Bonner put on social media a picture of a New Balance shoe, and it was his Christmas theme. And all he did was he took a red pen and he drew a snowman on it. That's it. That was it. He just drew a snowman with a red pen. He goes, "These are my Christmas edition ones." So yeah, they get a kick out of that. But hey, once again, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the Spurs injury? Listen, what do you think about Blake Wesley? Is he being out a little too long for your taste, or are you camp? Let him rest until he's 1,000,000,000% ready to go. And share with us your sneaker collection. What are your prized possessions? You can show Dr. Ryan on Twitter at Austin ER Doc and on Instagram, Austin EM Doc. And let's not forget, he's also with the St. David's Medical Center and Austin Emergency Center and with the Backstage Medical and Concierge Medicine Practice, AKA I get sneakers that way. That's Dr. Ryan's way to get the sneakers. Dr. Ryan, what's going on with Backstage?
Well, we finished up the football season here in Austin. The soccer season is over, so we got a little bit of a lull. Now we're mostly doing music shows that are, this is kind of a big time, December, for a lot of shows down at ACL Live, some of the other venues around town, and that's what we're doing right now. And then been working in the ER, both at AEC and St. David's Medical Center.
All right, so for Dr. Ryan McCorkle, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.